Hey, I'm Ryan from the Burnout Show, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to install a brand new intake manifold onto your Chevy 350. At this point, we've got a whole series on the channel about rebuilding a Chevy 350. So if you need any help with anything else for this engine, there will be a link to the playlist where you can find all of those videos up in the top right corner. So we actually recorded this video while we were still filming episode 6 of Burnout. In that episode, we finished rebuilding this 350, slapped it back in the 76 Camaro that we took it out of, and then raced that 76 Camaro against a 2018 Camaro on an autocross at Lime Rock Park in Connecticut. That episode is awesome. If you haven't seen that yet, again, there's going to be a link in the top right corner. You can go check that out after this video. But basically, this video is going to be a little bit different than most of the rest of our engine rebuild tutorial videos since we recorded it during the filming of that episode. So the first thing you're going to want to do is grab your gaskets. Now you'll probably notice that there's only 2 pieces of gasket for your intake manifold, and those 2 pieces are going to go in between your intake and the cylinder heads, right on that flat surface on the cylinder head. So then that leaves the front and back of the engine on the actual engine block unsealed. So what you're going to need to do is get some black RTV. And so we're actually going to use that RTV to seal up the front and back of this engine block for the intake manifold. But when you're doing this, you want to make sure that you put on a pretty thick bead of RTV because you want to make sure that you seal up this entire area from cylinder head to cylinder head. After you lay down that RTV, you're actually going to want to let it sit for about 15 to 20 minutes so that it can actually dry a little bit and develop a bit of a skin so that it will create a better seal when you put the intake on it. So just go ahead and let that sit for 15 minutes and then come back. Next, you want to grab your actual gasket pieces, and we're going to line these up on the cylinder heads. Now, a lot of people will actually say that you should spray the backside, the side of the gasket that sits on the cylinder head, with something like copper spray gasket. And what that'll do is it'll actually help keep the gasket in place, lined up with the holes properly, and it will help create a better seal. So this isn't necessarily a required step, but a lot of people like to do it. Makes them feel a little bit better about their seal. I, however, did not really want to spend the money on the copper spray gasket, so we just lined it up by hand and tried to hold it in place as best as possible, and then put the intake manifold down on top. Now, you want to be careful when you're putting the intake on to make sure you get it completely, totally lined up on all sides. You don't want to put it down and then have to readjust it or slide it because that can mess up the RTV. So just be really careful when you're doing this to make sure that you line up the holes and you line up both ends, and then you're ready to start threading in your bolts. So go around and tighten all of your bolts by hand, and then once you've got those all tightened, you should grab your torque wrench and torque these bolts down to 20 foot-pounds. It's not a lot, just 20 foot-pounds. You should start with the bolts in the center of the intake manifold and do a crisscross pattern going back and forth across the intake manifold for which ones you're torquing. That'll just help you create a better, more even seal across the whole intake manifold. And I also like to go around all the bolts twice with the torque wrench just to make sure that they are sealed down to the proper torque. So that's all there is to it. It's super easy to install your intake. It's not that many steps. Obviously, there can be a lot of accessories and various plugs that have to go into the intake manifold. So let me know down in the comments if you want to see another video all about that. But like I said, that's going to be it for this video. So if you found this video helpful, make sure you hit the like button and definitely subscribe. And hey, if you've been following this series for a while now, we just launched some memberships. So consider joining our memberships. If you don't know what that is, there will be a join button right next to the subscribe button under this video. You can go ahead and click on that and learn all about our memberships. So check that out. And yeah, like I said, that's going to be it for this video. So thank you for watching, and I hope this helped.